Glenn Seaton, fairly confident just the same. Here's how they'll line up. John Bauer, by virtue of winning the dash today, starts out of pole position with Thomas Mazzera in the Telecom Mobile Net Commodore alongside. Third is Peter Brock, his teammate. From 4 is Jimmy Richards in the Winfield Commodore. Out of 5, it's Dick Johnson in the first of the Shell FAI Falcons.
Out of 6, Mark Skaife in the Winfield Racing Commodore, unfamiliar position for him. Out of 7, car 30, Alan Jones in the Peter Jackson Falcon. Out of 8, car 1, Glenn Seaton, we're just talking to then. Out of 9, car 11, Larry Perkins, and rounding out the 10, Wayne Gardner in the new Coca-Cola Commodore.
From 11, it's Paul Morris, the Diet Coke Commodore. 12 is 3, Trevor Ashby, the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore. Neil Crompton in the second of the Coca-Cola Commodore starts out of position number 13. Tony Longhurst, the Benson and Hedges Commodore, out of 14. And Bob Pearson, the veteran in the Product Commodore, is next on the queue.
Out of 16, Tony Scott in the Holden Commodore. Out of 17, car 12, Bobby Jones in the Ampol Max 3 version. Out of 18, car 39, Chris Smurden, the new Larry Perkins car. Out of 19, car 14, Stuart McCall. And out of 20, car 47, John Trimboli.
Position number 21 has gone to James Phillip in a Holden Commodore. And rounding out the 22-car field in the 2-litre Sierra, it's Stephen Ellery. 10 seconds away from the start. Round number 2, race number 1 of the championship by Shell. John Bauer in pole position by virtue of winning the Peter Jackson Dash, and alongside of him is Thomas Mazzera, who gets off the line, lights up the tyres. Mark Skaife splits a pair of them, tries to work Jimmy Richards over before they make it to the first left-hander. And the 2 mobile cars also come out with a gigantic brake lock-up. The 2 Winfield Commodore cars are taken wide out of the circuit, whether that's Skaife or Richards. B comes straight back in and almost gets the side of Glenn Seaton as they make their way through that turn.
I think that may have been Skaife doing a bit of grass cutting out there, but fortunately he hasn't damaged the front spoiler. We'll see which car that is as they come onto the back straight for the first time. But Thomas Mazzera, we saw him do a huge light up of the rear tyres. And look at the first of Shell cars, John Bauer. He's got a rear tyre rubbing there, and that may cut through, and he gets into trouble. Look at him as they come up the back straight for the first time.
Ridiculous.
Thomas Mazzera and the Holden Racing Team Commodore leads them across Dandenong Road, 250 kilometres an hour as they swing down the hill for the first time. John Bauer in third, and the first of the Peter Jackson Falcons in fourth.
That's Alan Jones, who's made off to a brilliant start. Next is Peter Brock going through smartly. Mark Skaife, I think it was, who had the off. So that really has affected. That could have been Johnson who was out wide there. Up on the inside, a little brake lock up there from Alan Jones, sitting right in behind John Bauer. He's not going to see out the entire distance of this race with the problem he's got with the tyre scuffing the side. They come in to rip off the first of 20 laps. Tony Longhurst getting away smartly. The crowd right onto this one. Mazzera, the leader. Mark Skaife in second. Third is John Bauer. Then it's Alan Jones up on the inside as well. So it was Jimmy Richards, in fact, who suffered badly out of that shuffle.
Look at the front of JB's car. He gets it very sideways as he gets on the power coming up through the switchback here. The front of the car's been damaged. Gee, he's really been in the wars at that first corner.
Jones is right on his tail. They're not fooling around here, these 2 teams.
Top 10 cars covered by less than a second in qualifying. Very close and very competitive. Look at Skaife as he gets under the wing of Thomas Mazzera up the back straight for the second time. Skaife had a flat tyre in the beginning of the Dash for Cash earlier this morning. Instantly pushed him back to 6. Now he's got to fight through. Well, look at this. He's already up to second position and challenging for the lead.
He's not going to make a run at that particular part of the circuit because Mazzera has this well and truly under control. Up to the next left-hander. Skaife in second.
Another big brake lock up there.
It was Alan Jones just ahead of that too, and it was Glenn Seaton. That's the second brake lock up he's had it since the opening lap.
Well, brakes are a big factor here, and certainly by the time we get into the second heat, not looking too good. Dick's not on 10/10ths.
Well, it's one of the Shell cars on the way out. John Bauer still hanging in third position. Haven't the Shell cars been in the war this morning in these opening 2 laps?
Thomas Mazzera brings them across the line. He speed up the back straight last time, 249 kilometres an hour. Right behind him, Mark Skaife. And here we have the wars for Dick Johnson. John Bauer's already got a tyre problem. Johnson's got a bigger one. And Skaife all over the back of Thomas Mazzera. I think we're in for a great race between these 2 drivers. 2 youngsters who can really set the pace. They've opened up a gap here. Bauer's got out onto the grass. Alan Jones gets up on the inside of him, and Glenn Seaton starts to make that similar move as they head up the back straight this time.
It is hard to judge that first corner on the opening lap. It's a long way away from the start-finish line, and fellows get a little bit anxious. They try to make as much ground as they can, but I think it's a pity that on the opening lap so many fellows found it necessary to do a sideswipe maneuver and put their colleagues paid to the event.
Thomas Maziera 1.1 seconds under the lap record in qualifying, set by Larry Perkins only at the Sandown 500 meeting last year. So it's the same package, but just shows the development that's going on with these cars, how much faster they're getting in such a short period of time.
Well, they're professional teams, mate, and they've had a long time since Bathurst, really, then we've all been at war. Looks like 5 months to get things really moving for the 94 season, and it's unfolding here. The people that have done their homework are coming through.
Here comes Skaife, challenges up on the inside as they come under that bumpy braking area. Maziera goes out wide, sneaks through, and notice too that John Bow has also disappeared from the action, so the two Shell Falcons have fallen over the first 5 laps. Big disappointment for the Ford men, and particularly the Shell team, who look so strong here in qualifying. So it's Skaife now, lead them up the back straight once again. The two Peter Jackson Fords, Alan Jones in front, Seaton following him through, then Brock, and the Mobile Commodore, Jimmy Richards, and Larry Perkins getting on the pace now.
Well, here's Dick's change. Oh, for John Bow. So both Shell cars in the wars.
Well, the day looked like being just the perfect one for them, particularly after John Bow won the trophy dash. It's all come apart for them. Hopefully they might be able to pick it up in race number 2 this afternoon. But in the meantime, Mark Skaife, former national champion, the Whitfield Commodore, leads Thomas Maziera, who really left a gap open large enough to put 3 Foden trucks through at the end of the straight last time. Here they come down the straight. We might have a replay, thanks to Tui's Red, and have a look exactly what happened in that first turn. There's the gap, though. First back to second. Skaife is sprinting. Let's have a look now. Off the line.
Brock with his tyres locked up there, and you can see that Dick gave him more than a serve coming out of there. John Bow tries to thread the needle. They were all over each other. There's bodywork and things flying everywhere. Smoke, dust. Richards out there on the grass. One of the most frantic starts we've seen in touring car racing for a long time.
That's okay. That's what racing's all about.
That's right. But Shell Falcons have paid the price. Johnson and Bow both out of the battle at the moment.
Well, the gap between our race leader, Mark Skaife, and Thomas Maziera hasn't opened up. It's fairly constant, as Alan Jones doing a fabulous job. PJ team, all sorts of problems yesterday, as we mentioned earlier, with tyres. They just really couldn't get a handle on it when it came down to the lone session. But expect them to go the distance and keep the pressure on. Skaife loves nothing better than to a bit of adversity. Usually gets the hairs up on his back, and he can usually respond. He's doing that fine job here today at Sandown. Second, still Thomas Maziera, but starting to come under some pressure from Alan Jones in the first of the Falcons. And behind Jones is his team leader, Glenn Seaton. Probably 4 or 5 car lengths back is Peter Brock. Then it's Jimmy Richards in car 6, Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore. And next is Wayne Gardner in the Coca-Cola Commodore, just clear of Tony Longhurst, Paul Morris, and Neil Crompton.
5 laps down, 15 to go. You can see Brock's copped a bit of damage on the front of his car too.
I don't think that'll hurt his cooling too much. There's still plenty of gap there for the radiator. It's not really going to hurt him.
These front 6 cars, the battle between Yokohama and Bridgestone. Skaife and Richards winning Yokohama's new B compound car, which they use so effectively at Amaru Park. And the Falcons and the Commodores both on Bridgestone's 29 compound with different constructions for each car. So, tyre war in order, and Larry Perkins the first of the Dunlop cars behind this bunch.
There's a lot been happening in the pits in the opening couple of laps. Let's go to Andy.
I don't know about a tyre war, but the tyres are certainly in the wars. You saw both Shell cars come in at the same time. Here's Dick Johnson's front right-hand tyre. Both guys apparently have been hit by other cars. Both tyres incredibly shredded, and as you saw, it was just absolute pandemonium and bad luck here in the Shell pit. Both guys are going to do it very, very tough.
They certainly are, Andy. Thanks for that report. Well, you do your planning for a weekend, Alan, and I guess in some cases Glenn Seaton would have gone away from here yesterday very despondent with his 2 cars missing the dash, and Dick Johnson would have been full of elation after the dash this morning, but it's gone away.
And then a lap later, they're in the pits. It is rather cruel. It's something that the fellows have to come to grips with amongst themselves. It's a question of just how sporting you can be and yet be competitive at the same time.
It's a sheer delight here at Sandown today. I'm going to introduce someone, and the voice you'll know automatically. And And that is the voice of Formula One Grand Prix racing, Murray Walker, who joins us in the commentary box. Murray, welcome aboard. Hope you're enjoying your stay in Melbourne.
I certainly am, Mike. It's my first time in Melbourne and therefore my first time at Sandown Park. I've just been mentally comparing it with some of the British Championship courses like Brands Hatch and Alton Park, and it's magnificent. And my goodness, this racing is absolutely terrific. I'm enormously impressed with Mark Skaife. He started from, what, 5th or 6th on the grid, and he's now got his way through into the lead. Terrific performance.
Here's the STP race cam riding with Glenn Seaton. We've already remarked not the best of weekend so far for Glenn, but he's trying to pick the pieces up, running 4th at the moment.
So here we are, Mark Skaife, behind him Thomas Mazzara, the previous winner at Bathurst, behind him the 2 Ford Falcons, Alan Jones well up there, world champion in 1982, and there we are in the commentary box. It's all happening here at Sandown Park, and in particular Mark Skaife. So the Holden's Commodores versus the Ford Falcons. Mike, who's your money on?
I think at this stage it's on Skaife. He's such a good, strong runner, and it really is the Murray Moth, Mark and Mike show today, isn't it? We've got the MZ.
We were very, very impressed with Mark Skaife in Formula 3000 in Europe, and he's come back here. He's gone back to the touring cars like a duck to water, and look at the way he's going now.
I think the problem, Murray, for the Shell company today is that they haven't put out enough boards, because we've had 5 or 6 of their boards have been torn apart by cars running off the circuit.
Good thing they're styrofoam and not doing any damage to the cars when they have those little escape modes.
Now, there's a challenge for 3rd place there. Glenn Seaton, and it looks to me as though there's been a change as they go past. Yes, indeed, up into 3rd place has gone Glenn Seaton. He's got ahead of Alan Jones. There's the man he's chasing. It's Thomas Mazzara. So the 2 Holden Commodores of Skaife and Mazzara have now got Glenn Seaton, who's gone so well in this series in the past, hopping his rear wheel off the deck there. Alan Jones tucked in behind him. And there they go, the 2 Peter Jackson cars. And now the problem that all leaders have in every race, and that is threading their way through the field as they catch up to the tail enders. This is where the top 4 could close right up. It's where conceivably the lead could change hands.
It could well. Dick Johnson has been in the war so far, back into the pit, shredded tyres, and he joins us on our Dunlop race cam. Well, Dick, I thought everything looked pretty sharp after the dash for you.
Yeah, well, it's looking fairly good, Mike, but obviously the skirmish in the first couple of laps is very difficult to sort of get through, and well, it's very difficult to pass because these cars are fairly equal. So I had a shot at Crompton, which I thought was a fairly fair sort of a passing manoeuvre, and he just got left out, hang out to dry, and unfortunately I flattened the tyre.
We've got Murray Walker with us today, taking in the action as well, Dick.
Oh, really? What a great idea. How you doing, Murray?
Good day, Dick. I was just telling them about the time you took me around Eastern Creek at about 0.2 of a second off the lap record. I can't forget that in a hurry.
Well, that's good, Murray. I'm glad, because Eastern Creek's a great racetrack.
Now, Dick, you've got the car, you've got the money. What are you doing down there?
Well, I'm Sam DeMay now. I've got to exercise somehow.
Well, Melbourne, of course, is the scene for a fabulous Melbourne Motor Show this week, and that's why Murray is in Melbourne. At the moment, we're following race number 1 of round 2. Not too much. It's closed the gap. It was out to 2.20, but here we see it is all tightened up again as the young Thomas Mazzara starts to gain on Mark Skaife, and those 2 Falcons are getting closer to the tail of that Telecom Mobile car.
Yeah, you see, it was the O'Shea's car. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about some of the drivers to know which one it was, but they're all threading past him now. But in the meantime, Thomas Mazzara has been able to close the gap between himself and race leader Mark Skaife, who's got the hammer down now as they go through and complete another lap. And we're now on lap 11 out of 20, so we've completed half the race distance. You're looking at the first 2, the Commodore of Mark Skaife, right behind him, the famous 05 car, well, it's Peter Brock there.
Yes, they're doing well. I still think it's going to remain tight at the front of this field, Murray, with Thomas Mazzera and, of course, Mark Skaife. Half distance has been completed. Shell Race Score tells us the picture. Mark Skaife, the race leader over Thomas Mazzera. Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Falcon, runs in third over his teammate. Alan Jones in fourth, and Rocky rounds out the 5. And we'll be back for more action in just a moment.
Start the week right again. Mark Skaife in control, but Thomas Mazzera getting closer all the time, opening up a clear gap to the two forwards there. So this is the battle for the lead. It's going to go right down to the wire. These two cars very evenly matched. Seem to have similar horsepower, similar straight line speed, and very, very strong through the corners. If we take race cam, Coca-Cola race cam, aboard Wayne Gardner's new Coca-Cola Commodore. Boy, these team have been in the war this weekend. All sorts of engine problems. Teammate Neil Compton's car caught on fire in qualifying and came very close to being incinerated. Gardner currently running in 8th position. Very hard initiation for this team, but they're doing very well in very competitive circumstances. Wayne Gardner working his way up through the 6-speed transmission. Back to second as we take an innovative position for race cam. We look at the feet of Wayne Gardner as he works his way around Sandown Park. Just feeding in the power. Bang! Changes up the gear change once again. You can see, and he's just to brush the clutch pedal. And for those of you who haven't seen inside a Group A Commodore, that tray on the bottom of the floor that looks like an inverted scone tray is actually 20 or 30 millimetres above the floor and keeps the driver's feet off the hot floor, because under these cars it gets like a frying pan.
You could cook your scones down there.
See the way he's heel and toeing with his right foot, keeping his the ball of his foot on the brake and the heel of his foot on the accelerator as he changes down. He's not doing it at the moment.
Now, just now he's coming onto the back straight, and he'll just give it everything in a straight line, working his way up through the gearbox. I think up to 5th gear. He'll be just pulling into top about here. 6th gear, flat out 260 kilometres an hour as he comes over the top of the hill for that spine-tingling run down through the S's. Back couple of gears. Here he is down through, just balancing on the throttle, and he'll really bury the brakes here as he comes into Dandenong Road corner. Feeds the power in on his way back toward the straight. A little bit of oversteer there. You can see him applying opposite lock. Back through the gears and back toward the pit once again. A fabulous view of the very busy feet of our ex-world champ Wayne Gardner.
6 laps to go in this 20-lap race. And here are the leaders. It's still Mark Skaife. Still behind him is Thomas Mazzera. Still behind them are the two Falcons of Glenn Seaton and Alan Jones. Still in 5th position, it's Peter Brock.
And it's just an example of how closely matched these cars are, Murray. How does this V8 racing compare to 2-litre racing for the spectators at the circuit?
Perhaps you shouldn't have asked me that question. I think the 2-litre cars have been a bit closer because they haven't got the power, but this is terrific stuff.
We go aboard STP race cam with Glenn Seaton characteristically chewing on his drink straw there as he works the big Ford round Sandown Park. Very cool customer. He looks like he's so relaxed at the wheel he's just going down to the shops for a few minutes.
Doesn't look as if a thing is bothering him, does it?
No. Very, very relaxed driver. Looks up in the rearview mirror. He's got plenty of time to check his gauges, see who's around him. A guy in complete control of the situation. Very, very cool customer.
Nice and easy on his car. You can hear him. He's using the clutch. He's nursing his gearbox. Very kind to the car. You very seldom ever see Glenn Seaton with a car parked at the side of the road.
Horsepower, Alan, or kilowatts?
About 550, maybe 560 horsepower, Murray.
That is very impressive and very, very quick. And how beautifully these cars ride. Watch him as he goes into the left-hander. Just the left front wheel rides up a little bit. The car stays flat. The power goes down. Glenn Seaton.
Just a little bit of roll there. Nothing to worry about. As Murray said, the left rear tire off.
The only roll he's got to worry about is the roll of the dice to try and find a way.
Now, this could be, sorry to interrupt you, this could be Mazzera's chance. There's a lapping going on, but no, Mark Skaife goes past him cleanly and coolly, gives Thomas Mazzera no opportunity at all. But now we see what Glenn Seaton was looking at. He was looking at the car in front of him in 2nd position, and I do believe he's a little closer. There's still a very considerable gap, but Mazzera is really pushing now. So there's Seaton. Behind him is Alan Jones, and here are the leaders. Now, there's Skaife.
Well, unless I'm mistaken, and I could well be, but I think Jones has just managed to get past Glenn Seaton. I think he has a problem, but it is very tight at the front, as you've alluded to, Murray, with Thomas Mazzera desperately trying to come up with a win here for the factory today. 4 laps to to go across the strike at Sandown. There's Jones just in front of Seaton. We catch that on STP Racecam into the left-hander at the end of the straight here at Sandown. And Thomas a little untidy that time on the exit to that turn, but it is still on this race.
Right, age shall not wither or dim Alan Jones. He's no youngster now. He wouldn't like me to say that, but he's been in racing a long, long time, and my goodness, he's not going any slower as the years go by. Look at this terrific battle for first and second places, an even greater battle for third, fourth, fifth and sixth places. Here are the leaders in the red Commodore, the Winfield car, Mark Skaife. Then, right behind him is Thomas Mazzera, 015. Both in Holden Commodores, and Mazzera pushing now right up alongside. Is he going to nerve Skaife? Is he going to take the Commodore off? No, he's not. Mark Skaife will have nothing of it, and we're into the last 3 laps now.
It is getting very, very tight. Tap, tap, tap through this turn and down to the left-hander. Past the pits, that's drafting.
This is what you call slipstreaming, drafting for sure, Mike.
And Mazzera will be trying to work his way to the inside here, so he catches Skaife out and keeps him to the outside of the turn. Across the line, 3 to go.
But Mark Skaife knows what the situation is, and he is not going to let Thomas Mazzera get his nose inside the red Commodore if he can possibly avoid it. The same thing is happening behind them. The 2 Peter Jackson cars, the 2 Ford Falcons are battling for third position. Right behind them, the 5th and 6th, but it's the battle for the lead at the present moment. So, there is Glenn Seaton, there is Alan Jones in the 2 Falcons, out of the left-hander, into the straight.
Well, there's no way that Mazzera is going to let go here until the flag comes down over the pair, over the line.
This is lap 18 in this 20-lap race, 2 laps to go at the end of this one.
Look at them.
Remember the point situation.
Yes, Mazzera's already off with 5 points up on Skaife in the second round today by virtue of yesterday's outstanding performance and his finish in the dash. So Mark Skaife into this section of corners now that brings them back past the pits. They're as close as they were a lap ago. In straight line speed, though, it would appear that Skaife might just have that little edge over Thomas Mazzera.
He's definitely holding him on the straight. He seems to lose the slipstream just ever so shortly, about 2 car lengths, and not enough length for Mazzera to pull out and nail Skaife under brakes. But he's certainly hounding him, and Mark Skaife won't want to make one slip at this stage or it'll be all over.
Same engine situation, Alan, or has one got the Chevrolet and one
They both have Chevrolets, Murray, and both have the 6-speed gearboxes.
Fairly close, and of course Skaife has done it a little tougher from where he started in the field, but he leads. Still out to a couple of car lengths. From this point on the racetrack, Mazzera does make up a little bit of ground, particularly into the next left-hander.
And unless I'm very much mistaken, this is lap 19 out of 20. So, if you've seen action so far, I think you ain't seen nothing yet, because the last lap is about to be starting. And it's Mark Skaife, Thomas Mazzera, Glenn Seaton, Alan Jones. Peter Brock is in 5th position.
Skaife down to the right-hander now. In here smoothly. They're coming up on a couple of cars they'll put a lap on, including the Kalari Transport Commodore. But they'll catch them in the straight and they'll probably have them done by the next turn. Last lap board should come out this time.
Maximum sweep onto the straight. They're not losing any ground there at all. They're keeping the car nice and tidy to keep their
look
speed.
At this. Oh. Look at this. There's Skaife. There's Mazzera. Burst of flame from underneath the car as he changes down and the engine goes on to the overrun. 2 men to lap. This could be Thomas Mazzera's opportunity. This is the last lap in the 20-lap race here at Sandown Park, and Mark Skaife pulls out now.
They're going to thread the needle through these 2 lap cars. They both hang to the left-hand side of the course. Skaife will crest the top of the hill and leave 1 lap car, probably in Thomas Mazzera's path here. Now, he gets by on the outside. Can he make it before the next turn? Barely, but he does.
This is an immaculate race by Mark Skaife, starting from the 3rd row of the grid into the lead. He's held the lead under terrific pressure from the Commodore of Mazzera, and it looks as though Thomas is not going to be able to get past Mark in the closing stages of this.
Here it comes! No, here it is!
Yes, I said it!
Yes, absolutely, coming out of the last corner. Who's got the speed for the checker? I think it's going to be Skaife. Crowd standing here in the grandstand as they come across the line, and it'll be Mark Skaife. Lost the lead, took it back, takes the checkered flag clear of Thomas Mazzera and Alan Jones over Glenn Seaton, Peter Brock and Jimmy Richards. Well, a good race, Murray.
Absolutely superb, and that's going to help Mark Skaife, who puts his hand out of the window with a victory salute. That's going to help him with the championship points.
It certainly is, Murray, and a delight to have you with us today. Let's check them out for you on the Shell race score as Mark Skaife picks up the checkered flag. He's gone on to win this one. Thomas Mazzera places in second. Alan Jones was third in the first of the Peter Jackson Falcons. Glenn Seaton finished in fourth. Peter Brock rounded out the five, and in sixth place as they went across the line, it was Jimmy Richards. Seventh, Larry Perkins. Eighth, Wayne Gardner. Ninth was Tony Longhurst. And 10th was Paul Morris. And we'll be back at Sandown for more action after the break.